So, good evening, good evening, good evening. We are back with another video. This is going to be a different video what I'm going to do today. I'm going to be doing a video based on predictions, what I think will happen in the wonderful world of wrestling in 2024. Big up everyone for watching the video on Max, and also I made a bit of an howler on the previous video I got of when I said it was the greatest day in wrestling history. And the video was about Kazuchika Okada leaving New Japan. So, yeah, I made a bit of a balls up on that video. So I do apologize. I have to take that video down, and this is going to be a new one. Um, right, kicking it off. This is going to be based with WWE, AEW, and TNA. Right, so I'm actually going to start with AEW, and for me, I think which is a certain. AEW will be signing Kazuchika Okada and Mercedes Moné before Revolution. Now, Revolution, I believe, is in March, and Okada will be a free agent in 2 days' time. His contract expires on the 31st of January, I believe. And for me, Okada going to AEW makes a lot of sense for me. I would love to have seen Kazuchika Okada in WWE. Some of the matches he'll have, but obviously it depends on what Tony Khan offers Kazuchika Okada. If he gets given a good amount of money, and obviously if he's allowed to travel back to Japan to see his wife, then I don't think Okada could say no. As far as Mercedes Moné goes, if Tony Khan pays big time to bring in the hottest free agent in terms of women in wrestling, then can she say no to that? I think that is a reality. In terms of WWE, of Mercedes going back, the Royal Rumble was the final hope for me, but a lot of people thought that Mercedes was going to be at number 30 or number 29. Obviously, AJ Lee. They thought AJ Lee was going to be in the Royal Rumble. Obviously, number 30 was actually Liv Morgan, and Jade Cargill debuted at the Royal Rumble. But yeah, I can see that officially happening. Number two, I think Will Ospreay will become the AEW World Heavyweight Champion at All In. Now, with AEW going to London again, which I will be going to, by the way, me and Captain are going to London. We might be doing a vlog as well. So, for me, Ospreay winning the belt at All In, for me, is a cert. Now, it's interesting who he'll face. For me, I think it's going to be Swerve. Swerve is so over right now in AEW. And I'll go admit, I am looking forward to sing along to Swerve's theme. And I think that is going to happen. Swerve will win the World Championship. He will be losing it to Ospreay at All in August. TNA. My prediction is TNA and WWE will have a Forbidden Door show by the end of the year. For me, after you've seen Jordan Grace entering the Royal Rumble, you gotta start thinking, has Triple H and Scott D'Amore formed a bit of a business partnership? Obviously, Jordan Grace entering the Royal Rumble took me by surprise. The fact that how well she did as well, Big Mama Pump. Obviously, Jordan Grace is fantastic. I mean, I am a massive fan of Jordan Grace. And now, will that also mean that there's going to be more TNA stars coming to WWE for one night appearance? Will Jordan Grace be at WrestleMania? Will they be willing to let Jordan Grace defend the TNA Championship on a WWE Premium Live event? If you look at it, you think that there are dream matches for WWE and TNA. I mean, you look at the matches that there's possible. I mean, you've got look at someone like Chris Sabin against someone like Seth Rollins. That's money. Chris Sabin is one of the best ever in TNA, and Seth Rollins obviously is one of the best in WWE. So you open that forbidden door for WWE and TNA. You are laughing. You could have Decay against Kyrie and Asuka. If you think about it, some matches that you can have in TNA and WWE, enormous. Right, this is another one. This is going to be an obvious one. Cody Rhodes will finish the story. For me, I think this is 100% going to happen. I mean, I was surprised Cody won. I honestly put my money on CM Punk to win the Royal Rumble, and obviously Punk is going to face Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. Punk is going to win the Elimination Chamber. So Punk and Rollins for me it's a no-brainer. It's going to happen. Not negotiable for me. I think Punk and Rollins, will main event night 1. Cody and Roman will main event night 2. And to think that there are some matches at WrestleMania, you could think there are just some dream matches that could happen at this year's WrestleMania. I said in my previous video, we could be in for something special this year. Think of the matches that could take place. You got Cody Roman, Punk and Rollins, Gunther against Braun Breaker. You could have Becky and Rhea. Even though I'd be happy if it was Becky, Rhea, and Liv Morgan. I would be happy with that. Io versus Bayley. You have Logan Paul against LA Knight. Take your pick. There's too many to pick from. And I am looking forward to WrestleMania this year. This could be the first WrestleMania you could say that we're in for something special this year. Now, another one, WWE in terms of free agents. Julia will be with WWE by May. I think this will happen. There's been so much negotiations talking that Julia, his contract expires in March, so she won't be at WrestleMania. She won't be at Stand and Deliver. Julia is high regarded as one of the best women's wrestlers in Japan. Would it make sense to have Julia starting in NXT? Yes, it makes sense for me because if you think about it, Julia can get used to the American style of wrestling and then work on a few things. Bang, she'll be in the main roster. Look what happened to Dragon Lee. But Dragon Lee at the moment for me has been like free roaming a bit. Like was on SmackDown Live and now he's back on NXT. It's like, what's going on? So yeah, I think Julia to WWE will happen. This is going to be one I think is going to take a lot of people by surprise. Chris Jericho will retire this year. I think Jericho has got nothing left to prove. He is without that one the greatest of all time. Obviously, with these rumors and innuendo that's going around with obviously what happened with him and Kylie Ray, I don't want to judge because obviously I don't want to get sued. Because obviously I don't want to say things that might be incorrect, might be very inaccurate, and I feel Chris Jericho will retire at the end of the year. Now, a lot of people may actually think differently. Obviously, you may be a diehard Jericho fan. You may hate Chris Jericho, but I think Jericho will retire at the end of the year. Like I said, what's Jericho got left to prove? I think Jericho, his last match for me, will be against the man you could really say could be like the new Chris Jericho. I think it could be Sammy Guevara. You tell me who you think Chris Jericho's retirement match will be against. Now, this is one other one with AEW. Now, people are going to laugh at this, but this can happen. AEW Dynamite will have 1 million viewers. Now, hear this out. if AEW at the same time have Kazuchika Okada, Mercedes Moné, and Will Ospreay all at the same time, all under the same roof, Dynamite will reach a million. Now, a lot of people are saying that AEW is not the alternative anymore. AEW, Tony Khan has got unlimited funds. He can go out and buy who the hell he wants. If they've took Mercedes under WWE's nose, and for me, I think Triple H will regret not. But WWE and can cough up the money for Mercedes, but they didn't. So it looks like for me, Tony Khan has got who he wanted. He's going to have Kazuchika Okada in the bag as well. And Ospreay, we all know Ospreay's a done deal. That's been done since October, I think. October. But yeah, AEW Dynamite will get a million views. People can laugh at it, but I think it will happen. Speaking of AEW, I think Collision will get cancelled. Now, for me, Collision was specifically made for CM Punk. However, now that Punk's back in the WWE, Collision, it just does not get an audience. You're thinking, well, what's the point? If you made a show designed for one wrestler only in CM Punk, and he's no longer in AEW, what's the point keeping it? For me, I think Collision will be cancelled by the end of the year. Now, in our fancy league, Collision, a lot of people are hoping it's not, because obviously Collision can get a couple of cheeky points here and there, but I can't see Collision lasting longer, because the audience levels is dreadful. Like, Tony Khan put a match in front of about 2,000 people with MJF and Kenny Omega. It was a great match. I mean, don't get me wrong. MJF's amazing. Kenny Omega's amazing. But why'd you have to have a dream match like that? Which, for me, is a match you'd see at Revolution, all in, full gear or all out. That is where you would need to see Kenny Omega and MJF. Now, this is going to be a controversial one. Now, I can see talent going from WWE to AEW and vice versa. Now, I'm going to start with a controversial one here. Drew McIntyre will go to AEW. Now, Drew's contract is due to expire after WrestleMania, so Drew McIntyre will be a free agent after WrestleMania. There's no talks yet whether he has signed a new deal yet. Now, for me, if Drew goes to AEW, he will be a big-time player. I think his character, since turning in a bit of a tweener, has been great, and I am loving Drew McIntyre at the minute. Drew McIntyre has been fantastic. But if he wants to seek a new challenge, and obviously maybe debut at Wembley, and I'll be there, I will be there watching, I will be there all in. And Drew McIntyre could possibly debut. Will he come after Ospreay for the title? Will he be the big name, though, in AEW? That's where you got to look at it. Another one I think will go to AEW from WWE. I think it's going to be Sheamus. Now, I love Sheamus. I think his work, I think he's been underrated. And I remember he did have a bit annoyed with creative because I felt like he should have been the one to end Gunther's Intercontinental title reign. And in that regard, I actually agree with him. I think the match at Clash of the Castle was one of the best wrestling matches I think I've seen for a long, long time. That match was just had everything. It was excitement. I always say when I see a banging match, I say takeover vibes. So obviously how great that takeovers were under the Triple H era. That match was amazing. That match was one of my favorite. That was probably for me my favorite match of the year, except Punk and not Punk, Rollins and Cody Rhodes and Hell in a Cell. This is going to be another interesting one. Who I think will go from AEW to WWE. Now, This is going to be, I think, will happen, and it may not happen this year due to the contractual obligations. Number one, Buddy Matthews, aka was known as Buddy Murphy in WWE. Now, Buddy Murphy, I've said for years, is the most underrated talent I've seen in years. Buddy Matthews has been great. He will flourish under the Triple H regime. He was really not given a big chance back under the previous regime under Vince and Bruce Pritchard. I think Buddy Matthews would be great in WWE. Um, to think as well, Rhea Ripley's there. Obviously, he's engaged to Mommy, lucky so and so. So Rhea Ripley for me might play a bit of a part in that to bring Buddy Matthews back to WWE, and I would love to see Buddy Matthews back in WWE. Now my other one was going to say Andrade. Obviously, Andrade returned to the Royal Rumble, so we're going to take that one out. And another one which I read on Twitter that could happen on going to PW Insider is Malachi Black. Now, how this guy has not been a world champion is staggering. Has he even had a one-on-one match in AEW? Some of the matches I've seen Malachi Black, or Aleister Black rather, on the main roster in WWE, it was quite a rare item because he really wasn't booked well. I remember he had one match against Buddy Matthews and that was it. In NXT, he had banger matches. Johnny Gargano, you had Ciampa, you had the Velveteen Dream, Adam Cole, world class matches. And for me, I think Malachi Black will happen. Like I said, it's not going to be this year. It's because of contractual obligations. If they're told they can leave, if they were allowed to leave this year, them two will be certain to come back to WWE. And another one I think may possibly come back. God, terrible throat. I do apologise. For me, and this may surprise you, is Keith Lee. Now, Keith Lee has been terribly used in AEW. He was horrifically used on the main roster in the previous run he had to be known as Keith Bearcat Lee. When you saw him in NXT, and he was ridiculously good. Like Triple H turned him into a machine. He is so good, Keith Lee. He's unfortunately had a bit of a bad injury, so Keith Lee might be out till we don't know how long. I think Keith Lee, if he does come back to WWE, I think he will go to SmackDown. Obviously, Mia Yim being over there, he's married to Mia Yim. Aleister Black, I think, will be SmackDown. Obviously, Zelina Vega. And for me, Buddy Matthews, Raw, 100%. But they tend to keep the couples together. Obviously, him being engaged to Rhea Ripley probably makes sense. This is another one I think may not happen, but possible. Roman Reigns retires. Now, you're probably thinking, Beer, you're off your head. What's Roman Reigns got left to accomplish? He's been champion now for 1,200 something odd days. Roman Reigns, he's got everything about him. Hollywood, he could be Hollywood. Um, it's like the guy can just lose the belt at WrestleMania, and then he'll probably have a rematch against Cody down the line, and then probably say, "That's it. I've done everything I needed to do. Chill on the island of relevancy and just enjoy life. You've been one of the best." And Roman Reigns, for me, is a possible chance, could retire this year. I can't see it happening, but mad shit has happened, isn't it? And lastly, I'm going to talk about NXT call ups. Now, I think there's going to be five. And my first one, I think two of them are going to be no brainers. Number one is Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo, is teaming with Trick Williams tomorrow night on NXT to take on the LWO. They'll face the winners of another man I think will be called up to the main roster at Vengeance Day. And I think Mello and Trick will lose. And I think Mello may turn on Trick at the end of the match against Ilya Dragunov. If Trick wins the belt, Dragunov will obviously embrace Trick, say, title's yours, bang. Carmelo Hayes will attack Trick, and they'll have the match at Stand and Deliver. That'll be Mello's farewell match. Carmelo Hayes, I think, will be on SmackDown. He's been great as far as I can. The matches I've seen Carmelo Hayes have, the guy's phenomenal. He's my baller, and I love Carmelo Hayes. Now, the next one I think for me is after that Royal Rumble performance, and he was absolutely incredible, is Braun Breaker. And I've been questioning this for 12 months. How is this guy not on the main roster? I thought when he dropped the belt to Mello at Stand and Deliver last year, I expected Breaker to be called up after Stand and Deliver. And then we found out he turned heel, and he was going to have another match at Battleground against Mello. And Braun Breaker for me is a certain. He has to be called up after WrestleMania. And after that Royal Rumble performance, he was insane at the Royal Rumble. So Braun Breaker for me, there is talk saying that he is on the main roster. But then again, he's in that story in NXT. And this is one thing that Shawn Michaels has got a lot of work to do, is knowing that he needs to rebuild again. Because if you lose him Carmelo, you lose him Braun, who's left? Trick's obviously going to carry the brand. Obviously, there's still great names in NXT. I mean, you've got Dijak, you've got Nathan Frazier, you've got Eddie Thorpe. Extremely good wrestlers in NXT. But are they going to match the star power of Braun Breaker and Carmelo Hayes? And I've had to leave one out because I think this is going to be the third one. It's got to be Ilya Dragunov. You're going to have to go with the Holy Trinity of NXT. Ilya Dragunov, for me, is fantastic. I got a feeling if Dragunov drops the belt at Vengeance Day, Dragunov will possibly go up against Gunther. Now, if you've not been accustomed to NXT UK, and I watched NXT UK and I thought it was great, the match between Ilya Dragunov and he was known as Volta at the time, 2 5-star matches, and Meltzer rarely gives WWE 5-star matches. So run it back, Dragunov, Gunther, get it done. that match is money written all over it. So Dragunov for me, I think may get called up. You could look at Dijak. You could be looking at, you don't know. It's a tough call with NXT because Shawn Michaels knows he needs replacements. And obviously I think NXT will survive, but I mean to match the 3 star powers of Mello, Breaker, and Ilya is massive shoes to fill. Now I'm going to go with 2 women who I think will be called up. Number 1, it has to be Tiffany Stratton. Her work, for me in the last 12 months, she has been fantastic. Tiffany has been women's champion. She beat Lyra Valkyria in the final at was it Battleground or Great American Bash? One or the other. And Tiffany lost the belt to Becky Lynch. For me, which took me by surprise. I thought Becky possibly may have put Tiffany over on the match on NXT. Could have had the match at No Mercy, which was a great match between her and Tiffany. So Tiffany, for me, I think is ready. And if she goes to... Oh, goodness me, I need to run back. Braun Breaker, for me, Raw, all day long. Because if he goes into a feud with the Judgment Day, then I am all for it. Ilya Dragunov, I think, will also be on Raw. As I said, just run it back. Tiffany Stratton, I think Tiffany will be on Raw. Obviously, she is dating Ludwig Kaiser. So it makes sense to try and keep all the couples together. So I think Tiffany will be on Raw. And the final call for me is Roxanne Perez. This girl, she is fantastic. Now, this is an interesting one. Is it depending on whether Roxanne turns heel? Now, she's in the stage of a bit of a heel turn in NXT. She's facing Lara Valkyria this Sunday at Vengeance Day. So it is an interesting call what they do with Roxanne. She was in the Royal Rumble, did well in the Rumble. So I think Roxanne will be called up. Uh, it is a hard call. If she beats Lyra and then drops the belt to Lyra at Stand and Deliver, then there you go. Take my money, have Roxanne. Roxanne Perez, I think she'll go to SmackDown. There would have been 3 call-ups from women from NXT, and unfortunately, I would have gone Cora Jade, but Cora Jade sadly suffered an ACL injury, so Cora's going to be out for 9 months, 12 months possible, and if Cora Jade would be called up, she'd be on SmackDown. I put her in Damage Control to have her with Io, Kairi, Asuka, and Dakota, but we'll have to see. And this is my final prediction. There is no more Vince McMahon. Now we all know that. And my final one, this is a cert. MJF will re-sign with AEW. I think this has been done quietly. Saying about the bidding war of 2024. MJF is re-signed with AEW. We all know that's going to be the case. I think when he comes back from injury, obviously he's going to be in a feud with Adam Cole in the Undisputed Kingdom. So it's going to be interesting. Obviously, I can't wait for MJF to come back. Obviously, he's a big loss for AEW. He's their biggest draw. Obviously, you could put Kenny in the situation as well. As obviously, Kenny Omega's Kenny Omega at the end of the day. But MJF has been the biggest loss due to injury. I think he was overworked by Tony Khan. Now, I'm not going to... I possibly might have to blame Tony Khan for the injuries to MJF because MJF is AEW's biggest draw, and like I'm not gonna, point fingers and say, "Oh, you should have should have put the belt on Jay White at Full Gear," which is true. Could have put the belt on Jay White. I think Jay White. I think Jay White will definitely get a shot at the belt, but I can't. But I can see MJF coming back, maybe around the summer. Obviously, depending on the injury levels, I suppose. And I think he will definitely have a match with Adam Cole. Obviously, that's going to be a certain. But these are mad predictions, I know. But I can see some of these happening. Some may not. Maybe the Roman Reigns one was a bit too much. Maybe the Chris Jericho one you think could be crazy. I don't know. But anyway, those are my predictions for 2024. I'm going to keep an eye on whether I've got some right, whether I've got some wrong. Probably have a few wrong, but that's my predictions. Let me know. Let me know what your predictions for 2024 will be. If I don't see you soon, I will see you Thursday for my NXT review on Max Wrestling. And that's it, boys. I'm out. Boys and girls, peace.